candidates have been invited to participate in today's virtual meet and greet and asked to communicate 3 things: a full introduction of themselves, why are you running, and what are your goals for the next 4 years. This morning, we hosted the mayoral candidates, and this afternoon, we are diving into the city council candidates. We will be sharing these introductions through the Chamber's website, newsletter, and social media platforms until Election Day on March 20th. And we are Facebook Live. So today it's going to be a long day, so you are more than welcome to, or afternoon, to come and go. You can go to our Bossier Chamber website at bossierchamber.com, which we've sent it out there on the social media and it's on the website. And you can see the times allotted for each of the candidates at bossierchamber.com. Click on our calendar, go to today's date, and see the city council names, the candidate names there, and it'll tell you each time that has been allotted for them. We're going to begin today with the city council at large. If you have any questions for the candidates as we go through this afternoon, please submit those questions in the chat box if you're joining us via Zoom, or you can submit them in the comments under at the Bossier Chamber Facebook page where we are live. So without further ado and not taking any more of his time, let us start with our first candidate for councilman at large, Chris Smith. Chris?
Hey, Lisa, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Thank you for having me. My name is Chris Smith. I am a Bossier resident and business owner. I'm a local real estate agent and a partner in a real estate brokerage called Titan Property Network. Also invest in real estate and run a property management company where I help other people invest in real estate. So that's a little bit of my daytime job. I'm married to a high school English teacher at Parkway High School. And we're just proud to be part of the Bossier community. We're real passionate about this city. Why I'm running for council is I just want to do what's right. I want to do what's right for Bossier. I believe that we are in this very crucial time in the city's history. You know, we haven't had an option as far as candidates to choose from in 20 years. And so this is, with the exception of District 1, I think has had a few. And I think there was one person that challenged the at-large incumbents a few years ago, but there's been very little choice. And so this election is vital because we actually have a choice and we get to meet people that have different ideas. The question we have to ask ourselves, are we going to stay the course and do the same thing that we've been doing? Or are we ready to change it up, get new faces, new ideas to help move Bossier forward? And I think that it's the latter. I think that we're ready to take this step and move and build for a better Bossier and build for the future. And let me just say this: this call for change that I'm advocating for is not a negative reflection on anyone that's currently in the city council or even the mayor. I think they've all done a fantastic job. I think you would be crazy to say that Bossier hasn't grown under their leadership, but now I believe that growth has grown stagnant, and asking for change is not saying, hey, we think you guys are doing a bad job. It's just saying, hey, it is time to move forward. Things that I'm running on are very simple. It's 6 main topics. I'm running for term limits on city officials. I think that whenever you do not have term limits, that it becomes less about the people and more about keeping your grasp on your power. I'm not saying that anybody has done anything wrong. I'm just saying it's human nature to want to keep and hold on to that. And you should have a 10-year plan, be able to execute that 10-year plan, and then pass the baton to the next person. I want better transparency. If anything has taught us this last week is that Bossier City lacks some transparency. We need to enforce and be more open and communicate with our constituents a little bit better than we do now. We need more economic development. We need to raise property values. I can tell you, as a real estate agent, there are areas of town where property values are declining and homes are not selling for what, let me fix that. Homes are selling, but then they're not appraising for what they're selling for. We're having a lot of appraisals come under asking price. And so I think that's an issue. I think you have to look at that and say, you know what, we need to do something to help boost these property values. Boosting property values helps generate more revenue. So we do not have to raise taxes again like we just did in December. I'm against any new taxes. And I think that we need to do what we can to generate more revenue without asking the taxpayers to foot the bill for it. We have aging infrastructure that needs to be addressed. We have crumbling sidewalks and streets. I know the city is doing I think it's a 12 million 5-year project. And if I remember correctly, they said this was the first time that we have done a project like that. And I think that's a problem because at its basic level, that is the city council's job, is to make sure that we're safe, to make sure that we have good schools and safe streets to drive on. And so, and speaking of safety, we've got to increase our public safety. People want to think that Bossier doesn't have a crime problem. Bossier has we sit next to a city that has a large crime problem, so ours is not in the forefront of the news. You know, in 2018, we had 241 police officers or police personnel working for the police department. Fast forward 10 years, we only have 197. And since 2011, property crimes have consistently gone up. And that's reported statistics from the FBI website. So we cannot say that crime is not going up. It is out there and it's been reported. And it's a direct correlation to having less people working for the police department. And so I think that that is something that we have to address if we want to keep our reputation of being super safe. So those are the things that I'm running on, why I'm running, and a little bit about me. So I am open for questions.
Thank you, Chris. Greatly appreciate you sharing your platform and your points with us. We do have some questions for you.
Okay.
There is a question in the chat box for a couple of them for all of the candidates. So I'll start with the first one. What leadership roles have you been a part of in Bossier organizations? And what kind of business background do you have as well, which you have already shared that with us. So maybe the leadership roles, if you could maybe expand upon that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, my whole career has been, and since my early 20s, has been either sales or management. So that's kind of a background on my business side. As far as leadership in the community, I've been very involved, especially in the South Bossier area. You know, I'm a frequent member of the lunch groups that we have here. Also help with the Friends of South Bossier and advocate for you know, good change in South Bossier. That has been my passion as of late, is being an advocate and a voice for South Bossier. When I decided to run for city council, you know, I thought about it and I said, you know, I think I can make the biggest change if I go for the at-large, because one thing that this city needs to fix is this North Bossier versus South Bossier thing. We're one Bossier city, and the only way to move forward is to move forward as one city. And you shouldn't say, oh, I live in North Bossier or I live in South Bossier, and they forget about us. No, we're one Bossier city and we need to move together.
Which is a great answer to segue into the next question that we have in our chat box. And because you are an at-large candidate, which covers all of Bossier City, if you are elected, how would you solicit input from areas of the city outside of the area that you live in?
Yeah, so one thing that I've mentioned to a lot of people on the campaign trail is with that transparency, I plan to meet regularly with constituents and hold town hall type events, Q&As, meet and greets, whatever you want to call it. I would like to see that done on a very regular basis, maybe quarterly. That way you can see what your constituents are really saying. You can let them know, this is what we're working on. This is what we achieved. Now, what would you like? What's next? What's next on that agenda? And I think I think that's something that we're lacking now, is there's so much unknown about where we are going, what's being worked on. And I think that if we had our city leaders there talking to people and advocating, I think a lot of people would be more on board with what goes on.
Great, thank you. As a reminder, if you have questions for our candidates, you can place those in the chat box. And or if you're watching Facebook Live, you can put those in the comments and we will ask those questions. Chris, here's another question for you. What would be your #1 capital project for Bossier if elected? And what would the cost of this look like and how would we pay for it?
Okay, that's a great question. I think that the looming thing that hangs over Bossier is the UL Coleman development in South Bossier. I think that that project has absolutely got to get up off the ground. And if it's not with that developer, we need to find a developer that will work with us and move that forward. We have a state-of-the-art arena that we spend a lot of money on and brings in a lot of big events. We don't have any place for these people to stay that's not a casino that's close by. Half the time they go over the Jimmy Davis Bridge, which is a whole nother problem in itself. To get to a hotel on the Erie Drive corridor, they usually eat there and then they come into Bossier. And we're just letting those tax dollars go over there. And on the outside looking in, and again, I am not privy to a lot of this information, but on the outside looking in, it just looks like over one little curb cut to get into the development. And if that's the case, then we need to see what can we do to get that project back up and going, or get that or get another developer to the table. This is, if we can create public-private partnerships where developers want to invest some of their own money, then that is the best way to move forward. That way, the city is generating revenue from the property taxes that are increasing because of the said development in the area. So I think that is my #1 goal. And it's not, again, it's not, oh, well, he's a South Bossier guy, so he wants to do something in South Bossier. I think we have hundreds of acres around this Century or Brookshire's Grocery Arena that's not being utilized. And, we talk about South Bossier being landlocked, but we have hundreds of acres of property that we're not doing anything with. And I think that's a problem.
So, Chris, some people in our community say that we have traffic problems.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, and how would you mitigate those concerns or change the situation?
Yeah, so one thing that I campaign on has been this theme of building for the future, right? And being more proactive and less reactive. And I think that's where we're at right now. We're being very reactive. We let airline drive become the mess that it is, and without having enough east-west roads to kind of fix that traffic problem. I think Airline Drive probably should be expanded, but how are you going to do that? How is that going to even be feasible? And the answer is it's probably not. So the problem is we are now having to fix issues that we should have been a little bit more aware of when we were doing all this mass development of Airline Drive and Bent Road. And so I think what we have to do now is we have to get more east-west roads in. We also need to get the traffic light system more synchronized and updated. We're using outdated software for the traffic light system, and I think that is something that absolutely needs to be a top priority to make traffic flow a lot easier.
Thank you. Chris, I have a $1 million question for you.
Uh-oh. I got a $1 million answer. Let's see if they match.
If you received a $1 million grant to use for the city in any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
$1 billion grant to do.
Not 1 million. We didn't go.
1 billion. Oh, okay. I thought someone. Well, I could be done with $1 billion though.
Right.
$1 million grant to do whatever I would want. Man, let me hold on. So I think that we absolutely need to go into all of our older neighborhoods, and we have to update those streets, those sidewalks, because here's the problem: when people move into the area, we have a lot of people that move here that know nothing about Bossier because they're being moved here from the Air Force Base, right? So they drive around and they have to find a place to live. a lot of the areas and neighborhoods that surround that base are outdated. I would absolutely put some money into upgrading and helping those. Something else that I absolutely hate is the section of Airline Drive between Barksdale Boulevard and I-20. How many buildings do we have right there that are kind of falling down and dilapidated? In other parts of town where we have, on Barksdale Boulevard, we have the old liquor store and convenience store that are falling down. I would love to create a project similar to what the city did in the East Bank district to help revitalize these buildings and do targeted incentives to get new business owners and minority business owners to be able to open up businesses in Bossier City. I think that small business is the backbone of our country, and so investing in entrepreneurs and helping people become entrepreneurs and run their own business, I think that would pay for itself tenfold, and that is something else that I'd love to see happen.
Great, thank you. Just so as we did this morning with our mayor candidates, we have a humanistic question for you that we'll be doing for each all of our candidates.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be very specific, but what neighborhood or what area of the city do you live in? Why did you choose that area? And what are your favorite things to do in Bossier City?
Yeah, so I live in South Bossier in Madison Place. We actually just moved here about 4 months ago from Bel Air, and so we absolutely love it here. We weren't looking to move into this neighborhood. As a real estate agent, I showed this house and I said, oh man, I love this. I went and grabbed my wife. We weren't even looking for a house. I went and grabbed my wife and I said, maybe it's something we can consider. So that's how we ended up here. And then we love just going out to eat. That we're real foodie people. So we people make fun of us, but we enjoy El Mariachi. That's one of our favorite places. But we go down to the East Bank district. We like Bojack's and Frozen Piro. Those are some favorite places of us to visit. So that, we eat out a lot.
Well, thank you. Thank you for putting a personal perspective of why you live in Bossier City. So we really appreciate your time today to be with us. And I'm going to give you the last word here in these last couple of minutes. And be sure that as you take the last word, if you would please let folks know that if they have additional questions for you, how can they contact you and ask those questions?
Yeah, well, I just want to thank you and the Chamber for hosting this event. I think it's very important that people get to meet all the candidates and get to hear from them. I'm absolutely open to questions. You can email me at chrissmithforcouncil@gmail.com. Find me on Facebook. I'm a real estate agent, so I'm kind of all over the place. Or you can send me a text message or call me at 318-840-1504. And then chrissmithforbossier.com is the website. I love Bossier City. I would not be doing this if I wasn't all in on doing it. And again, I just want to state that I'm not making this call for change because I think that Bossier's headed in a wrong direction. I think that we're heading into a brighter future, and it is time for someone to help us get there. And I think that I'm the right person at the right time to do this. So thank you all. I hope that you vote on March 20th and early voting March 6th through the 13th.
Thank you, Chris. And thanks for being the first one this afternoon. Stay safe out there.
Thank you. Y'all have a good one. Take care.
Appreciate you. Thank you. Okay, well, so far right on time, and we're going to move into our second candidate for councilman at large. We have 4 candidates that are running for 2 seats, and our next candidate is that is scheduled at 1:20, which is now, is Tim Larkin, who is an incumbent who is currently sitting in the seat. And Tim has joined us here at our office to do the interview. So he's in our Zoom room meeting. And so Tim, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to have an opportunity to be here, Lisa.
So if you would just kind of, as a reminder, just introduce yourself for folks that may have never had the opportunity to meet you, and tell them why you are running, and then what are your goals or plans for the next 4 years. So the
Yeah.
floor is yours.
Sounds good. Well, yes, and so my name is Timothy Larkin. I am presently one of the councilmen at large. You know, there's two councilmen at large, and it's really a wise way to have our government run. Have a councilman for each of the 5 districts, and then have 2 councilmen who work within the other council districts to help them put together programs that they're trying to promote for their particular districts in such a way that it causes a kind of an equitable distribution of the resources and the assets of the city. And so I've enjoyed doing that job for several terms now. Thought I might read here what I had written into the Bossier Now media publication. They asked me the question, so why do you want to continue to serve as in the council at large? And one of the things that I do enjoy about Bossier City and Bossier City government that we find that by and large everyone in Bossier City somewhat agrees that when it's time to get something done, we'll all work together as a team. You very seldom hear someone who will be criticizing some small nuance of what someone is proposing or otherwise. What you see is a gathering of our police jury and our sheriff and our business leaders and our state legislators and our state representatives. And when we work together like that as a team, we do very well. And I have enjoyed doing that, and I particularly enjoy being a member of a team. A second thing that I wrote into the Bossier Now that I thought was relevant, we're in a time now when city leaders across our nation are not so hot on standing up for their citizens and for their first responders. They're standing down. They're weakening, and I think this is a time when we should be vigilant and should be aware of that. And I am, of all of the things that I think are a concern to the city council and to our government, it is a concern that somehow our government doesn't descend into that weakened state that we're seeing happen nationally. And so I want everyone to know that you can count on me when it's time to lead. I was born and raised in Bossier City, and I raised 2 fine sons in Bossier City, and I now have 5 grandchildren that'll be raised here in Bossier City. So I am contributing to the population growth directly or indirectly. And so I have a real stake in the future of Bossier City. And I've always liked the direction that Bossier City is headed. And I join with so many others in our resolve to keep it headed in that same direction. You know, when you're number one, it's difficult to get to be number one. It's even harder to stay number one. And when you are number one, the only direction after that is down, and we need to avoid that. We need to stay number one. So I guess that gives everybody a little background about my thoughts about continuing to be a councilman at large. Maybe I'll stop there, and the question and answer session. How are we doing on time?
We're doing okay on time.
Okay. So,
So if you have a few more comments, you certainly can continue on for a couple of minutes, or I
well,
can begin asking questions.
yeah, well, let me, you know, when you're running for office, so often the question is, well, what is your biggest accomplishment? As if any one, as if any one councilman had particular accomplishments. That's not how the Bossier City Council has worked in the years that I've been there. It's always a joint effort. It's always us coming together. It's always us working with others to um, to realize accomplishments that are quite extraordinary for our community. Not the least of which is this Chamber of Commerce. But some of the accomplishments that I'll list here, none of which are Tim Larkin's accomplishments. They're accomplishments of a group, our council together. Starts with the very thing that Chris just spoke of. You know, our roads. I'm proud to say that in the time that I've sat on the council, we have built over $750 million worth of new roadway construction. And so I know Chris is he and I are coming from a little different in that I'm from a perspective of having lived here all my life, and he's from a perspective of having lived here for 2 years. In a 2-year period, if you just came to Bossier City and you lived here for that period of time, you might look at the traffic and say, my goodness, this is just impossible. But if you had a broader perspective and you'd seen where we came from, building these incredible arteries north and south, and then lacing them up with connectors north and south, what you would see is just exactly what Chris just commented on. It is one Bossier City, and it becomes more and more one Bossier City as time goes by, because of all of the efforts that we're putting together to put a roadway network together. A few other things quickly. One of the things that we can now build on is a state-of-the-art first responders digital communications network that we built. Millions of dollars spent over a long period of time building this communications network. The answer, I believe, to the need for increased effectiveness in dealing with crime, particularly the high number of these smaller burglary crimes. There's nothing small about any crime, but what I don't think we need is a lot more police cars and a lot more policemen, as much as we need to now employ this digital communications network that we put together to now fold into it the new technology that allows policemen to work much more effectively. These residential cameras and the like, tying them together and helping to broaden the effectiveness of the police officers that we have is the real wave of the future. You know, I'm always reminded of the saying they had that an automobile cannot travel faster than a two-way radio in a police car. Well, our technology is much the same way. Crime cannot travel faster than the technology that we have, and we have been wonderfully fortunate to have the funds available to develop our technology, just like we've done with our water and sewer company. When I went into office, what a truck did with our water and sewer company, they had a bunch of trucks running around town reading these meters. And the guy would write down from the meter all the time, driving all over the place, reading meters, bringing it back. Half the time they're wrong, rainy days, all that stuff. We got rid of all that stuff. We assembled a system of towers around the town, made all of the meters digital. And now all of the meters in town are are read in a matter of minutes once a month. And all of the data that comes in on that is useful in resolving problems. And that's just an example of, instead of having a whole bunch of somebody, having a new idea, using technology and saving over a period of years, millions of dollars in just that one aspect of water and sewer.
We do have, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I don't want us to run out of time. We do have a question for you.
Okay, good.
Okay. And for those that are just now joined us, Mr. Larkin has joined us here at the Bossier Chamber office. He is in our Zoom room. That's why you see the logo behind him. We do not endorse any candidates. I probably should put that out there. That's why we're having a full virtual public forum today for you to be able to meet the candidates. Mr. Larkin, one of the questions that we have here for you is, it's fairly long, so bear with me. In the efforts to move Bossier forward, we want to ensure all citizens are being considered. For years, the K-side community has lacked things like sidewalks, a recreation center, and even basketball court. What reassurance can you offer to the citizens of Bossier City, particularly the K-side community, who are afraid that neighborhood will be reduced or eliminated due to the Walter O'Bigby Expressway?
Yes, so that would be that's going to be in Council District 5. I'm asking, do we happen to know what district that's in? That's right around where district lines come together. But what I was going to say, first of all, the best way to communicate with the council, of course, is through your district councilman. In the way this systemically works is a request to your city councilman is then formulated into a request for that district. That district then that request comes before the council, whatever it might be, to make improvements or make changes of whatever they would be, and then it's taken into consideration for how it is to be funded and the nature of the request, and then from that comes a public debate. One of the things that I want to emphasize that I know has been a campaign slogan is a need for transparency. The Bossier City probably, when I compare it to any other government, we are the most transparent government operation there is. Here's how we work. Let's say the folks from this area had a request. What it would do is it would be brought to our council and on a particular agenda meeting. It would be read there, and then everyone in the city would be there in open meeting hearing what we propose to do. And then a week goes by while everyone in the community can contact their city councilman and voice their opinion. Then it comes to an introduction at a public meeting once again, where you can call in on the phone or you can come in and be there personally and speak before the council. The best way to get transparency with the Bossier City Council is to come to our council and tell us what you got on your mind. We often, we very seldom have people come and request things. And the city council is thinking that because things are transparent, you're either in agreement with them or you're not in agreement with them. But when we hear feedback from our transparent system, we typically act on it. Then what happens is after something comes and is introduced, there's a 2-week period that goes by before we even vote on it. So there is a 3-week public period of time that everything that you would like to have voiced or otherwise presented to the public is right there available to the entire population. It's the most transparent system that you could ever wish for. And the way to ensure transparency is to come before the Bossier City Council and speak and just say, look, here's what we want. If you don't want to speak, call your councilman and get him to speak for you.
Thank you. Thank you for those remarks. We have a question from someone in the chat that is curious to know, is there a specific neighborhood or residential area that you feel needs more support from the city council?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
That's okay, I can repeat it.
Yeah.
Is there a specific neighborhood or residential area that you feel needs more support from the city council?
Well, I guess maybe I turn that question around. Do I think that one neighborhood should receive a greater amount of attention than another neighborhood? Well, you know, it depends on the circumstances. There certainly could be a set of circumstances where a neighborhood just required more attention than another because of something that is unusual in its nature that is developed there. I would think that generally speaking, in just using the ideas of our democracy and our equitable way of dealing with things, you would approach neighborhood management on an equitable basis, always understanding that should special needs arise at any one period of time, that those needs should be addressed according to their urgency and according to the seriousness of them.
Thank you. Well, we are approaching the end of your 20-minute segment. Goes by pretty fast. And so I do want to give you the last word, as this is a virtual meet and greet. And as you are giving your last remarks during your time here, if you would, Mr. Larkin, please share with those that are watching, how can they ask you additional questions and contact you as they move towards the ballot box on March 20th. So the floor is yours, sir, for the next 2 minutes.
Well, you can contact me directly on my cell phone. And here's the number. It's 318-208-2300. That's the best way to contact me. Just call me up and I'll talk to you straight away. I got voicemail, and if I'm on the phone, I'll call you back. So that's an easy one. I want to say in closing that actually, when I look at what every candidate is really joined together in as one here, we all seem to think that we've got a good thing going here in Bossier City. We all agree that we're number one in so many things, and we all agree that we'd like to keep it that way. So I think the decision that is in front of the citizens is who do you think can keep that ball rolling, or who do you think we ought to replace and try something else? You know, that's the question. So it's not a question about electing Tim Larkin, or it's not a question about electing Lo Walker, or a question of David Montgomery. It's a question about making sure that whatever we do, Bossier City stays number one, and we keep on succeeding with all the things that we do so well now.
Well, Mr. Larkin, again, thank you for joining us today in the Bossier Chamber Zoom room here at our chamber office. Again, with our logo behind him, we do not endorse candidates. That's why it's an open forum for everyone today. But we greatly appreciate your time and wish you luck.
Great.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yes. Okay, so let's continue to move forward. We have 4 candidates for councilman at large, 2 to be elected. We have heard from 2 of them, and we have 2 more to go. Our next candidate that we will hear from is David Montgomery Jr. And Mr. Montgomery is currently holding one of those seats, so he is an incumbent. So David, I see you here. Can you do you have a camera to turn on for folks to be able to see you? And can you hear us, David? You're unmuted. So while we are determining that, the joys of doing things virtual, just to let our audience know, these to be able to do these meet and greets is not uncommon for the Bossier Chamber of Commerce. We have been doing this for many years, and pre-COVID, we would do these in our business office and ask the candidates to come here, and we would actually be able to shake hands and ask questions and start building those personal relationships. Unfortunately, we are in this unprecedented time, and this is what we are having to do now. Mr. Montgomery, are you there? Let's see, David, can you write in the chat box? Excuse me 1 second.
Just a reminder, if you do have any questions, you can drop those in the chat box, and we will get to those. If you have any for a specific candidate, please address their name so that we can tell them directly that the question is for them. Obviously, if you ask it during that candidate's allotted time, we will generally get to them, but getting close on time sometimes. We just want to make sure.
Thank you, Jessica. Well, Mr. Montgomery is having technical difficulties, and I see that Mr. Jeter is with us, who is another candidate for councilman at large. Mr. Montgomery has agreed to, he's going to get off of the virtual Zoom meeting and then try to re-sign on. Mr. Jeter, would you mind going ahead and beginning your interview process? The only thing is that we send a schedule out. And so for the friends of Lee Gunny Jeter that we're going to come on and listen to him at 2 o'clock, it's going to be a little bit early. So we'll have to make sure that those folks know to tune in on our Facebook Live and to find you. So Mr. Jeter, so glad to have you with us. Can you hear me?
Yes.
And I can
hear you very well. Thank you.
Excellent. And I can hear you and I can see you. So just as a quick reminder, we have 20 minutes and we are asking all of our candidates to introduce themselves and with a full introduction, and then why are you running? And then also what are your goals over the next 4 years? What would you like to see done? So candidate for councilman at large, Lee Jeter, goes by Gunny. Mr.
Thank
Jeter?
you very much. I want to first of all thank you, Lisa, and the Chamber for hosting this virtual forum for candidates for us to be able to really speak to our audience. So I really thank you for the work that y'all have done over the years and for the work that you continue to do in our great city. I am a resident of Bossier City, born and raised, little country boy from down in the woods of Elm Grove and Scopener and moved up to the city. The same reason that I left here when I joined the Marine Corps in 1976, it's the same reason I came back. At that time, I felt like that our city was not inclusive, that there was not a lot of opportunities for all of the citizens of Bossier. But that's the same reason I returned 20 years later, is that I saw our city as having grown up to the point that we could provide opportunities for everyone, for all of our citizens. So I come back to Bossier with that same mindset at heart, to ensure that our city is providing opportunities, not just for my children and grandchildren, but for everybody, every citizen of Bossier, their children and grandchildren. I'm a lifelong resident of this city. I've never, even when I was serving in the Marine Corps, I've never changed my voter registration. I've always been active in what's going on in my local community. And I'm still active in what's going on in my local community. You know, some of the issues that I have, and I know we talk about transparency. And transparency sounds good. But if all of the citizens across this city do not feel like their voice is being heard, then there's no transparency. If they feel like their issues are not being addressed, then there's no transparency. And as a city councilman at large, I understand that I'm going to be representing all of the citizens of Bossier. So part of that entails working with every district, all of the 5 district councilmen for the interests of their district, but also making sure that even if a citizen feel like that their voice is not being heard in their district, then as their at-large representative, they can come to me and I will work with their council member to address whatever their concerns are. So to make sure that their issues are heard. I believe that we have to have transparency in all of our city government and our public safety department, our police, our fire departments. I think we need to have transparency in those areas also. I think our law enforcement officers, that we have great officers, they do a great job, but I also feel that they don't have all of the tools that they need in their toolbox to be effective to work with our citizens in our community. I believe that all law enforcement officers should have tasers, some other form of non-lethal weapons. I think in this day and age, when you encounter the public, then you ought to have something else in your tool bag that is not lethal. And I think we also need to look at how do we address issues with our individuals and that have mental illness when our police officers engage with them. They're doing a great job, but I want to see us give more education, more training to our police officers to be able to deal with citizens in different environments, wherever we meet them at. I think that's going to be one of the things that's going to make us a greater city. I think we need to work on our infrastructure in our city. And I also believe that there are some neighborhoods that are really truly being left behind. There's no investment in those neighborhoods. You know, I was on earlier and I heard someone talking about the K-side area, which is the area that I know Councilman Vince, I'm sorry that Mr. Maggio has a business in, and he's running in that particular area. And there's another young lady that's running against him in the area. But I also look at the area over by Coleman Park and the area by Bossier High School. And we're making a major investment in the East Bank District over there, but there's no major investment around that area of the school in Coleman Park. But there are other areas in our city like that, that the citizens feel like that the city is growing, but they're getting left behind. And I believe that we have to have a 3-pronged stew for economic development in our city. And I believe that's going to be education, opportunity, and partnership. And I believe that means we work with the chamber. We work with the North Louisiana Economic Partnership. We work with NLCOG and those other agencies so that we're not doing things in a vacuum, but we're working not only to grow our city, but we're helping to grow this region. And I think that's going to be good for our city. I think we need to re-examine our tax structure. Does our tax structure currently, which is one of the second highest in the nation, does that current tax structure that we have, does it prevent us from attracting businesses to our city? I don't know if I have the answer, but I believe it's worth examining that structure and seeing if there's a better way to do business. Is there a better way to continue to attract business, to support businesses, and to retain businesses in our city? I'm not a politician. I'm a little old to be doing this. I'm running for city councilman at large because I believe that we're at that tip of the spear. There's an opportunity for our city to grow by leaps and bounds, or hit an opportunity for our city to regress. I'm for growth. I'm not for regression in our city, but I'm also for everybody being part of the growth and redevelopment of the city of Bossier.
Thank you. Thank you for those opening remarks. We do have a few questions that have been submitted in the chat box early on for all of the candidates, and then we have some other questions as well. Let me start with a question that's being asked of all of the candidates. Some people in our community say that we have traffic problems. What do you think? And how would you mitigate those concerns or change the situation?
We do have traffic problems. It depends on what part of the city you're traveling in, but we definitely have traffic problems. And I know everyone talks about Airline Drive, and I avoid that area as much as possible. But I think we work with our city leaders, our engineers department, we get those traffic studies, and we look at innovative ways that we can reduce the traffic on that corridor. And once we get traffic studies and we talk about the various ways as a body, not individually, because this is not something that any one councilman can do. But when we look at data and we look at the best way to address those issues, I think that we can do that, and we can sit down at the table with no preconceived agenda and say, okay, let's look at this, and what is this situation going to look like 5 years from now? What is it going to look like 10 years from now? What is this situation going to look like as our city continue to grow? And then we've got to develop a plan, not just for solving a problem right now, but the long-term problem for the continued growth of our city. Our city is not going to remain where it is with the number of individuals that are in our city. So whatever plan that we come up as the leaders of this city, then we've got to make sure it's a long-term plan, not only addressing the current needs, but also addressing the future needs of our city.
We have a question here, Mr. Jeter, that says, actually, they're addressing you as Gunny. Being a military veteran, how has that prepared you for this position?
Being on the council may be new. It may be something new to me, getting to work with those individuals, but leadership is not new to me. The Marine Corps prepared me to be the man that I am. And one of the things as a military man is we believe in leadership. We believe in keeping the chain of command informed, but we also know that in order to be a good leader, that you must communicate with the people that you lead. If there's no communication between the leadership and the individuals that you're leading, then you have a major disconnect, because we represent the people. We're in our leadership position for this city, not for ourselves, not for our personal gain, but to make sure that we're addressing the needs of the citizens. That's who elected us. That's who we represent. And if we're not meeting with them, if we're not hearing from them, if we're not addressing their needs, then we're not benefiting those citizens. So I understand that I must be in contact. And I'm in contact with all of our citizens. That's why I can say about the transparency issue, everybody don't feel like they're being transparent. Everybody don't feel that the decisions that are made are benefiting everybody in this city. Everybody don't feel that the parks in their neighborhoods are being addressed, that there are certain parks that are state-of-the-art parks, and there are certain other parks in our community that's falling down. No one is talking with our young folks in our city. The young adults that live in our community, our high school students, those that are beginning to graduate and go to college, and asking them, what are your needs? What is it that you want to see for the future of your city? What is it that's going to make you go off to college and return to Bossier City and make Bossier City your home and invest in Bossier City? And unless we can address those needs, then we're not meeting the needs of all of our citizens. We may meet some of them, but we've got to meet the needs of all of our citizens. I think my background in the military, as well as been in the nonprofit industry for the last 20 plus years, plus been a small business owner, has equipped me to be able to handle all of those issues.
Thank you. And actually, there's a question here that maybe is asking a little more specific. What leadership roles have you been a part of in Bossier organizations?
My resume speaks for itself. I've been in nonprofits throughout this year. I've sat on the board of directors of nonprofits. I've been the president of several local nonprofit organizations, local civic groups and volunteer groups. I've had positions in leadership at the national and the state level with nonprofits. I mean, leadership is what I do. Leadership is what I am. So I'm in touch with what's going on in our community every day, not because of where I currently work at, it's because I listen to the citizens of Bossier. When they have a complaint or they have an issue, I listen to see what that issue is, and then I'll tell them a proper way to address those issues. And when they feel their issues are not getting addressed, then I find a way to help get those issues addressed. So I'm a community servant. I've always been a community servant, and I'm a servant leader. That's what I believe. I'm a pastor of a local church. Leadership is what I am.
And so with that other question that has been asked of the other candidates, and you're speaking of talking to our residents, how do you plan to involve the residents? Being a councilman at large, how do you plan to involve the residents outside of the area you specifically live in to assist in that decision-making process if you were elected to this position?
I may live in South Bossier, but I walk the streets all over Bossier, from the K side to Scott Street to South Bossier where I live, Golden Meadows. I'm visible all over this city. I'm working all over this city, and anyone that, no matter where they live in Bossier city limits, and even if they live outside of the city limits of Bossier, they can get in contact with me about a problem that may be going on in their particular area. And then it's my duty is to get with their elected councilman for that particular area and say, listen, I don't know if this issue has been brought to you, but it has been brought to me. So let's look into this issue. Let's see that what we can do together to address it, if it is an issue. And if it's not an issue, if it's something that cannot be addressed, then we don't leave citizens hanging. We go back and we tell them, listen, this is a complaint, or this is an issue that you have. This is why we can't address it at this particular time. But know that we have taken notice of what your concerns are, and we're addressing your concerns. And I believe we have to have that communication up and down the chain of command, from the mayor's office to the councilman. Even though councilmen at large don't represent a district, they represent 5 districts because they represent the entire city.
Thank you, sir. And if you were on with us earlier, you may have heard that I asked one of the candidates the $1 million question. And so I'm going to ask you a $1 million question as well. If you received a $1 million grant to use for the city in any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
Well, the first thing I would do is, if we got a $1 million grant, that means we've got some stakeholders. I would call the stakeholders to the table. We would have a meeting, because anytime you get a grant, there's some accountability. You've got to have some objectives. So we got to determine how we're going to use that $1 million. It's not how I want to use it, but how is that $1 million going to best benefit the citizens of Bossier? How can we use that to have the greatest impact on our community? And additionally, how can we leverage that $1 million and turn that $1 million into $3 million or $5 million? How can we grow it? But how can we also be accountable to whoever that grantor may be? And I believe that we bring all of those stakeholders to the table. We talk with them, we solicit their ideas about this particular grant that we've received, and then we come up with a plan that's best for all of the citizens of Bossier, not one community, not one neighborhood, but all of the citizens of Bossier. And then we respond appropriately to our stakeholders and to our grantors about the success that we've had in this particular area.
Thank you, sir. Well, to keep with our time frame as and our schedule as we've been trying to do today, and I think we're doing a pretty good job. We're currently, for those of you that are just now joining us, we are interviewing our councilman at large candidates. There are 4 candidates running for councilman at large with 2 positions to be elected. We're currently talking to Mr. Lee Jeter, and so we are wrapping up his time with us. And so, Mr. Jeter, I want to give you the last word as you conclude your time with us today, and be sure to tell everyone how they can contact you if they have additional questions, and what is the best way to get in contact with you. I do see that some of folks from your campaign have put that information in the chat box and on the Facebook page for those, because I assume that they've been listening in. But if you would reiterate that in your final comments, that would be greatly appreciated.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. As a candidate at large for the city of Bossier, I'm asking for your support. And we say it's time for change in Bossier. And change can be good, change can be bad. But we need to change to the point that we know that all of our citizens, number 1, are being represented. Number 2, that we're being proactive in everything that we do. And that we're communicating with those individuals that have elected us, that have put us in this position to lead them, to make sure that their voice is heard. Because if we're not doing that, then we're not serving the citizens of Bossier. I want to see more of our citizens attending council meetings. But I believe, as a volunteer, as a community volunteer, that we need to look into the hours of operation that we're having our council meetings. We need to make it viable for every citizen, regardless of their socioeconomic status, to be able to attend council meetings. Not everybody can interrupt their workday at 2 o'clock to attend a council meeting or comment, even if they have issues. But we serve at the will of the people. And if we serve at the will of the people, then we ought to make our means accessible at a time that the majority of the citizens can attend those council meetings. Anyone that wants to get in touch with me can get in touch to me through our email at jeterforcitycouncil@gmail.com, jeterforcitycouncil@gmail.com, or at our Facebook page, Jeter for Councilman Bossier City. And we also have a website that we'll be able to take questions at leeagunnyjetercouncilman.com. So any of those means, if you solicit questions to us, then we're going to respond to you via whatever means that you have. I would normally give you my cell phone number, but I run a nonprofit. I'm a pastor of a church, and I have about 20 missed phone calls a day. And sometimes individuals don't leave voicemail messages. And I can't return 40 calls if I don't know who made a call. So if you put your comments in a chat box or in an email to us, then I guarantee you we're going to respond. Because if you have taken the time to think of a question that you want to answer to, then we deserve to give you a response. I thank you. I thank the chamber. I thank all of those that are listening in for this opportunity. And I look forward on March the 20th to being your next councilman at large for the city of Bossier and moving our city forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jeter. Be safe out there and have a great day. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to, let's see, David Montgomery Jr. Are you able to be with us this time? Can we hear you this time?
Can you hear me?
I absolutely can.
All right.
It's okay if we don't have a video, but we can hear you. So we'd like to welcome our fourth candidate for the councilman at large seats there's 2 seats available. And we have heard from 3 of the 4 candidates and kind of messed up our schedule just a little bit because of technical difficulties. Welcome to the virtual world. But so we switched Mr. Jeter and Mr. Montgomery, and now it's my pleasure to introduce David Montgomery Jr., who is currently sitting in one of those seats as an incumbent. And so, Mr. Montgomery, we are asking that you do a full introduction of yourself and why are you running again, and what would you like to see done? What are your goals for the next 4 years? And you have 20 minutes. 15 minutes, and then we'll go into Q&A. So, Mr. Montgomery, the floor is yours.
Well, first of all, Lisa, thank you for your patience and me finally getting online and being able to join this meeting. And thanks, Mr. Jeter, for allowing me to go after you and you stepping in my place. So thank you very much. My name's David Montgomery Jr. I'm a current Republican. I'm currently president of the council at Bossier City Council, a councilman at large. I'm a co-owner of Montgomery Agency, a 4th-generation insurance agency here in Bossier City. We're also a founding member of the Bossier Chamber of Commerce dating back to 1947, which we're very proud of, and to support the chamber. I'm also a former board member of the chamber prior to joining the Bossier City Council, which I'm very proud of as well. My father was also a past president of the Bossier Chamber. We have been, our family through generations, dedicated to the public service and civic duties here in our community, which we're very proud of. I'm married to my wife, Lisa. And something I'm very proud of too, which ties me to Barksdale and so forth, is a lot of people may not know, I've been a pilot since I was 18 years old. Serving as a council member at large has been a calling and a privilege for me. My training as a certified public accountant has helped me excel in helping manage our financial stewardship owed to our citizens, so our city remains financially strong with balanced budgets. My belief, our city must live within its means, just like all of our families do every day. Investing in infrastructure like completing the Parkway and the Walter O. Bigby Carriageway so that South Bossier is connected to North Bossier without a railroad crossing, or finally connected without having a railroad crossing, has been a passion. More lies ahead with important projects that are currently in the pipeline. Completing ongoing jobs like Tinsley Park, all-weather fields, helps us showcase our community and improve our recreational opportunities for our citizens. Making tough choices today, such as not using gaming revenues for recurrent expenditures, was a priority which has come to fruition, which has then in turn allowed us to have these major capital projects like Cyber Innovation Center. We have also kept the cutting edge resources and training to keep our community safe and improving the quality of city services delivered to our citizens. I'm an advocate for responsible spending of public resources, and I desire to continue this public service. We are proud of our record of being known as a city to raise a family. In 2017 and 18, we were named the #1 place to raise a family by Money Magazine. We are open for business. We are here to partner with those that wish to establish businesses here in Bossier City. We have one of the lowest tax structures in the state of Louisiana. In 2001, when I was elected to the council, our millage property tax rate was 26.77 mills. Today, as I stand here before you, our millage is 22.58 mills. I would say that's pretty good for making a promise to the people that we will keep your taxes low and effective to promote business entrepreneurship here in the city of Bossier. Another thing that we've accomplished and saved, and we'll start out with the first public-private partnership in the state of Louisiana with our water and sewer. And for all the citizens to know, we've saved over $3 million a year over the past 4 years that that's been in effect, which then translates to over $12 million that we've saved to put back into our water and sewer system, ensuring that going forward, we keeps our rates steady without the possibility of rates going up. We've also updated our recreational opportunities. One thing that we're very proud of is the Field of Dreams for the handicapped children there in the Swan Lake Road area. It's so innovative, and when you go there and visit, the people are just filled with joy while they enjoy that park. Going forward, we have many projects underway, others in the pipeline. I want the citizens to know that one thing that I ran on when I first ran in 2001 is I promised to run the city like a business. One of the analogies that I draw is that the taxpayers of Bossier City are actually the shareholders of this giant corporation called Bossier City. The taxpayers, shareholders, deserve dividends. We believe over the past 20 years, we provided those dividends with hundreds of millions of dollars of projects, both in water and sewer, at the Cyber Innovation Center, which supports thousands and thousands of new high-tech jobs, which also supports Barksdale Air Force Base. Our recreational opportunities with Tinsley Ball Field is state-of-the-art. We built the tennis facility in North Bossier, bringing that aspect of quality of life here in the city of Bossier. Also, I want to take the opportunity to announce that at 2:45 today, we're going to have a public press conference, I and the mayor, which is going to have some great news regarding our water and sewer and how we're going forward with that. So I invite everybody to join us at 2:45 for that. So with that, I'll yield the floor, Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Montgomery. We appreciate your opening comments very much. As a reminder for those that are listening via Zoom or on our Facebook Live video, if you have any questions for our candidates, please put those in the chat box, or you can put those in the comments on the Facebook Live video. Earlier, when we began, Mr. Montgomery, there was a question that was submitted in the chat box for you, and I'm going to go ahead and ask that question. And it's regarding a specific article and section of the city charter that the city charter established a community policing advisory committee for public safety in 2001. And it says that the city council shall establish the number of members to serve on this committee, policing advisory committee for public safety, along with the qualifications and process for appointment to this committee. How many members are on the board? And we can see you now. And what are the qualifications? And are there any vacancies?
Lisa, that's something that I'm going to have to get, with the chief of police and so forth on that.
Not a problem. So for those that ask that question, in a moment, we'll find out how to be able to contact Mr. Montgomery, and he'll be able to answer those questions after a little research. Okay, some additional questions that we have here. What are your goals for how we're going to impact low-income housing areas?
Well, it's, like all of the city, we look for opportunities to provide investors to come in. And if the investment is right for income producing properties, then those properties will take care of themselves.
Thank you. I have a question for you, David, that we have asked all of the candidates. And let me ask you as well. Some people in our community say that we have traffic problems. What do you think? And how would you mitigate those concerns or change the situation? Absolutely.
In all the various polls that are run as far as what's on people's minds and what the problems are, traffic has been number one for the 20 years that I've been on the council. I can tell you that we have invested a tremendous amount of money. We've got an ongoing study in cooperation with DOTD, studying the traffic lights, the flow of traffic, especially on Benton Road, Airline Drive, and Barksdale Boulevard, those being the three major thoroughfares. So we continue to work forward to improve how traffic flows throughout the city. Traffic's a good thing, though. That means you have a great growing population. So unfortunately, that's one of the downsides of a growing, successful city. But I can assure you right now, as we're building the Walter O. Bigby Carriageway, which is a $60 million project, we just completed Innovation Drive at $11 million, which is an east-west quarter between Swan Lake Road and Airline Drive. We have Shed Road that we just completed, a major project, which is a east-west quarter between Airline Drive and Benton Road. And again, we have millions of dollars of projects on the books, and we'll continue to study the most efficient ways to move traffic through Bossier City.
Thank you. As a councilman at large candidate, if you could change one thing in our zoning code, what would it be and why?
In our zoning code, well, we currently are operating under the UDC, which is a component of the Metropolitan Planning Commission. It's things that they follow. So anytime that there is a zoning change proposed, the MPC looks at it first. If they vote favorable, then it's brought to the city council. So anytime that something is brought before us, that's how it's handled.
Great, thank you. I do have a question for you that kind of just brings a humanistic nature to our Q&A, and you don't have to be real specific as you're currently elected official and running for the position again, but what neighborhood or area of the city do you live in? Why do you live in that area? And what are your favorite places to spend and to do in Bossier City?
Well, first, can I give you a little history about my time?
It's your time. I'll cut you off when necessary.
Well, maybe I'll go over a little extra.
Yes,
since
sir.
Anyway, my parents moved from LSU with my brother and myself when there was only two of us, and we lived in Southern Gardens on Violet Street. So I grew up as a little child there for several years, and then, of course, grew up later on in North Bossier and graduated from Maryland High School, then moved back and got married. And we actually lived in Plantation Trace. I was one of the first 10 homes there and organized the Homeowners Association in Plantation Trace and served in that capacity as president for 2 years. Unfortunately, my wife and I separated and she moved to North Bossier. So I followed my children, and that's where I ultimately raised my 3 sons. And currently, I live in a neighborhood called Stonebridge, and I certainly love all the recreation throughout Bossier City, and love to play golf, love to fish. So we go down to South Bossier and launch out of there on the Red River and fish various areas. So I enjoy pretty much, all aspects of what the city has to offer.
Thank you. We have a question in here that some of the other candidates are running on a platform of term limits. Do you support term limits? Why or why not? Well,
our charter, thankfully, was well written by our founding fathers here in Bossier City. In 2005, we formed a charter commission, which was headed up by Marty Carlson. And part of those recommended changes in the city charter was term limits. And that was put forth to the voters in 2005. And the voters said no, that we would not have term limits. They also at that time reaffirmed their affirmation to continue the at-large positions in the city of Bossier. So I believe that if the people of Bossier City desire to have term limits, then they should form the charter commission and follow the rules set forth in our charter, and then call for election, which would cost somewhere around $100,000. But if that's the will of the people, then so shall it be done.
Thank you. Okay, well, we are coming to a close for your time, and I will give you the last word to just kind of whatever you'd like to say to those that are listening on our Zoom here and on Facebook Live. And if you would, Mr. Montgomery, in those closing remarks, if you would let folks know if they have additional questions for you or if they'd like to contact you, what is the easiest and the best way to do that? So the floor is yours for the next couple of minutes.
Thank you, Lisa. As I touched on previously, the financial stability of our city and accountability to our citizens will continue to be a priority for me. Public safety is our main reason for city government, along with providing water and sewer. We have invested in the finest assets available for our police SWAT teams and our fire department and our overall first responders. We have gone from 2 ambulances to 5 ambulances in our 20 years without any additional expense to the taxpayers of Bossier City. I've enjoyed playing the leading role in the design of our newly painted water towers, which support our first responders and our military, starting right here at the home of Barksdale Air Force Base. Investment in infrastructure continues to be a priority, whether completing the Parkway, contributing to the construction of Barksdale's new I-220 entrance, adding turn lanes and checkpoints, investing in the latest technology for our public utilities, or constructing new roads, building things that last matters most to me. Recruiting businesses like Brookshire's Grocery Arena to invest, as well as prioritizing needs and updated new animal control facility in our Field of Dreams Park that provides accessibility to all children who may have physical handicaps, but who also deserve our best in recreational opportunities, are important if we are to be a welcoming city to new residents. On that note, I would like to close by saying that I would personally ask for your vote and your support for the next 4 years. I'm running on my accomplishment, not empty promises. My cell phone number where I can be reached is 0405, area code 318. And my website address is davidmontgomeryjr.com, and I welcome anyone to please contact me. Thank you, Lisa, for having me, and thank you to the Chamber for all you do for the support of businesses and people throughout Bossier City and Bossier Parish.
Thank you, Mr. Montgomery. We appreciate you being with us today. So at this time, that concludes our candidate interviews for councilman at large. Again, we have 4 candidates that are running that we have already heard from: Chris Smith, Tim Larkin, David Montgomery Jr., and Lee Jeter, who goes by Gunny. And there are 2 seats that will be voted on, and the election date is March 20th. Now we're going to go to some specific districts, and there are 2 districts that have opposition for city council, and that is District 1 and District 5. We're going to start with District 1, and that is going to be a district that is in the South Bossier area. And first, we're going to hear from candidate Scott Irwin, and then we'll move to candidate Shane Cheatham. And so Scott is with us today. He is at the Bossier Chamber office, just as one of our previous candidates did. He is in our Zoom room. As a reminder for those that are with us, he's in the Bossier Chamber Zoom room, which is why there is a logo behind him. The Chamber does not endorse any candidates. He's at our office to introduce himself today. So as a reminder, Mr. Irwin, we're asking you to do a full introduction of yourself. And why are you running? And what are your goals or for the next 4 years, or what you would like to see done? So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Lisa. My name is Scott Irwin. I am the current city council person for District 1 that I represent South Bossier. And I have been asked to provide some personal information about myself and why I'm running for re-election. And I have been asked to outline my priorities going forward. But before I do that, I want to take a moment to thank all of the employees of the city for their incredible work ethic and actions, not just during the past week, but in the past decades. We just went through a very tough ice storm, and our water system performed admirably. This is a tribute to our city employees, but also a tribute to the mayor and the city council for all of their proactive investment into the infrastructure over the last decade. So thank you from the bottom of my heart to all of the city employees. Now, a little bit about myself. I think the most important thing about Scott Irwin is that I am a Christian. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. The second most important thing about myself is that I am a true conservative Republican. I registered to vote during the Ronald Reagan era. I truly believe that the way to operate government is to have small government and low taxes. And that's not just words. If you want to know what that means or what that looks like, just look at Bossier City. We have lower taxes today than when I first took office. Low taxes are critically important. Low taxes attract businesses. Low taxes attract residents. So many people say that they're conservative Republicans, but I'm putting my actions behind my words. A little bit more personal information about myself. I'm a very lucky man. I've been married to my wife, my beautiful wife, Peggy, for 32 years. It's flown by. I have 2 wonderful children I'm very proud of. Amelia, my daughter, is 28. Both my kids went to Bossier City schools from kindergarten through graduation at Parkway High School. Amelia is a scientist in Houston and was recently published in a paper working on a cure for cancer while she worked at MD Anderson. I'm very proud of her. My son, Jeffrey, is a first responder in the Lake Charles area. I think he's had electricity about 9 months out of the last 12 months. And he's been helping Southwest Louisiana recover after being hit by multiple hurricanes. So I'm very proud of my son, Jeff. As far as education goes, I've worked hard, and I don't mean to be overly proud. I want to be humble about this, but I have worked hard to educate myself after high school. And I do this to benefit the citizens of Bossier City. I have a business degree from Louisiana Tech University. I have a master's degree with an emphasis in finance from Louisiana Tech University. I'm a certified employee benefit specialist, which is a program developed through the prestigious Wharton School of Business of the University of Pennsylvania. I'm an honor graduate of the Cannon Trust School, and I am a certified financial planner. I also hold numerous security licenses. This education in business and finance, I think, has served the citizens of Bossier City well. While serving on the council, South Bossier residents tell me what is important to them. They tell me what they would like to see improved. They tell me amenities that they would like to see built. And it takes money to accomplish these amenities. So then I have to work with complex budgets and with the city council to implement these wishes of the citizens. I'm currently employed by Lincoln Financial Securities, and I have 32 years of experience working with trusts and estates and financial services. So moving on, that's personal information about myself. Why is Scott Irwin running for re-election? The main reason that I am running is because I truly love the people of South Bossier. I've gotten to know many of these residents very, very well. I know many residents in each neighborhood in South Bossier. And believe me, these people, they're my eyes and ears. They let me know what needs to be fixed. From a clogged ditch to a pothole to a sinkhole to a cracked sidewalk, you name it, they let me know. And this really, I think, speeds progress and development in South Bossier by having these network of people. So I am running simply because I love the people of South Bossier and trying to implement what they would like done. Some of the things they have asked me to do, and I'll break these down into some categories. The first are some life-saving categories. The first item up for business when I became a councilman was to have signalized railroad safety gates installed at all railroad crossings in South Bossier. The residents told me that that was extremely important to them, and I know it is. When I came on the council, some of the crossing gates in South Bossier had these signalized guards, but some did not. And I think people expected there to be a safety gate. It seemed every month or two there was a tragic accident between a car and a train in South Bossier. So one of the first improvements the citizens asked for, and I helped accomplish with the cooperation of the rest of the council, were these signalized safety gates in South Bossier. More recently, the residents of Southgate and the gardens of Southgate came to me and said, we've got to have a traffic signal at the intersection of Robert E. Lee and Highway 71. Highway 71 is Barksdale Boulevard. I tried to work with the DOTD and go through normal channels to have that traffic signal installed, and they simply would not do it. So I went directly to the governor's office and soon after had that traffic signal at Robert E. Lee and Highway 71 installed, and undoubtedly this has saved lives. People in South Bossier have told me we needed traffic improvements. As has been discussed in the past, traffic is a main issue in Bossier City. When I first took office, there was only one highway going through South Bossier, Highway 71, Barksdale Boulevard. And it was getting crowded and it was getting dangerous. And one of the greatest improvements to South Bossier was the extension of the Arthur Ray Teague Parkway south to Parkway High School. Now South Bossier has 2 4-lane superhighways going the entire length of South Bossier. South Bossier does not have major traffic headaches. Traffic and travel flows smoothly in South Bossier, and undoubtedly that has saved lives. Other traffic improvements that the residents asked for that we were able to implement were ramps off of the Shreveport Barksdale Bridge, a ramp off of the Jimmy Davis Bridge. We made improvements to Highway 511, which is Jimmy Davis Highway. We made improvements to the intersection of Jimmy Davis Highway and Highway 71, Barksdale Boulevard. That's where the CVS is. That's a really smooth working intersection. We built a deceleration lane off of Highway 71 for Sunflower Road. All of these improvements keep traffic flowing smoothly in South Bossier. And the last category of improvements I'll talk about that people asked for are quality of life improvements. And number 1 on that list is our wastewater treatment plant. When I first took office, I got so many complaints about the odor at the wastewater treatment plant. And I worked with the city and I worked with the rest of the council to have a new $60 million wastewater treatment plant built in South Bossier. And that has largely solved the odor complaint issue in South Bossier. Recently, another major quality of life improvement has been really the complete refurbishment of the what was once the CenturyLink Arena and is now the Brookshire Grocery Arena. The outside was scrubbed, the parking lot was refurbished, and the inside has been either replaced or updated throughout the arena. It looks as good as new. Let's talk a little bit about parks. When I first took office, Mike Woods Park was looking pretty old and worn, and that's putting it kindly. We have completely rebuilt Mike Woods Park. It's got new jogging trails. It's got really cool outdoor exercise equipment all around the trail. So you can do resistance training as you exercise at Mike Woods Park. And we refurbished the pool. It's got new playground equipment. It's got really well-maintained tennis courts and basketball courts. Let's talk a little bit about the South Bossier Park. Mike Woods Park is a really cool park. It's well-maintained. It's nice. It's got lots of trees and shade. But what it doesn't have is a lot of space. If you get a bunch of little athletic teams out there that want to practice, there's simply not room. We needed room in South Bossier. So we teamed up with the parish and built the new South Bossier Park. This park is really gonna be a tremendous asset to young families in South Bossier. It's got 100 acres, so multiple teams can practice at one time. And now we have room to expand, room for all types of sports with the addition of the South Bossier Park. And in addition to the South Bossier Park, we built the new Walker Park in South Bossier along the Arthur Ray Teague, along with its signature pedestrian bridge. Another quality of life improvement that David touched on is the patriotically painted water tower. I call this the Tower of Gratitude. And this is truly something for the residents of South Bossier to be proud of. This tower boldly thanks our troops and our first responders. And the water tower won the Best Water Tower in the United States of America award. And that's something to be proud of. So I've just outlined some major improvements in South Bossier. Residents let me know what improvements are important to them. And it's an honor to work with the residents of the city to have these improvements implemented. The reason I want to run for office is to continue to transform South Bossier for the better by listening to what is important, that the residents tell me is important. Bossier City was named twice by Money Magazine, one of the top places to live in the United States. Retire Magazine named Bossier City one of the best places to retire in the United States of America. But we must not rest. We must continue with these improvements. The overall objective is to keep crime low. We want to keep property values going up. And we want to keep South Bossier and all of Bossier City a great place to live and to raise a family. So moving on to the last little category here, what are my priorities for the future? And those priorities, I'm not gonna, David and the other fellows have talked a lot about some citywide projects, but I will touch on a few of them. Some of my priorities are citywide, some are specifically for South Bossier. One of the biggest improvements in Bossier City overall is the new interchange being built off of 220 and I-20 into Barksdale Air Force Base. This entrance is a $70 million enhancement to Barksdale Air Force Base. And we need to do everything we can to partner with Barksdale and ensure that it continues to grow and thrive in Bossier City. The Walter O. Bigby Carriageway is an extension of our parkway north, and it's currently being extended through Central Bossier. Currently, a roundabout near Bass Pro is almost complete, and it really is classy looking. This road is going to extend north and go over a major railroad track. This is a big project. This is going to help people in South Bossier that want to visit their friends in North Bossier and should relieve traffic on a lot of different roads in Bossier City. So let's talk a little bit about South Bossier priorities. And I'll categorize these. I have life-saving improvements for South Bossier. The number one is the intersection of Golden Meadows and Highway 71. This intersection needs to be improved. Right now, as you head north on Highway 71, if you want to turn west at that intersection, the cars are stacking up on Highway 71. And cars are moving pretty fast at this intersection. So there's a risk of rear-end collisions. We need to build a turn lane that heads west, a northbound turn lane on 71, so that cars can stack safely and not have a rear-end collision at that location. We need some deceleration lanes. Violet Street, that kind of feeds into Southern Gardens and Savannah Place. There needs to be a deceleration lane off of Highway 71 for Violet Street. Rossi Lee, which leads into Southgate and other neighborhoods. We need a deceleration lane heading north for Rossi Lee also. Currently, as cars slow down on the road, they risk being rear-ended because traffic's moving fast in that area. And also, of course, with police and fire, we need to continue to invest in our world-class police and fire departments, our Class 1 fire department. And we need to continue to support our emergency medical services and keep them world-class. Quality of life improvements for South Bossier. You know, we need more high-speed internet options in South Bossier. Other parts of the country are figuring out ways to provide high-speed internet services at lower prices. And we just need to do what some of these other communities are doing and have more options for our citizens. Another quality of life improvement is the Highway 71 beautification project, which is taking place now. You know, some of our neighborhoods in South Bossier are pushing 70 years old. It's important to invest in these older neighborhoods. And it's important that when people move to Bossier City, that they strongly consider moving to some of these older neighborhoods. We need to improve the aesthetics along Highway 71. Aesthetically, not much has been done to Highway 71 since it has originally been built. We also need to invest and improve, and there are plans to do this. We need to improve the aesthetics of Shady Grove Boulevard and Bel Air Boulevard. Simply give them a facelift, make them look fresh and attractive. Again, the overall goal is to keep crime low, keep property values going up, and keep Bossier City a great place to raise a family. Another priority of mine is to improve streets, curbs, and sidewalks throughout all neighborhoods in Bossier City. I've personally driven every road in South Bossier, had a pad and paper, and took note of areas that needed improvement. With the help of the city, we prioritize these improvements in South Bossier neighborhoods. As you drive around South Bossier, you'll see where lots of road panels have been replaced. But we need to continue these improvements, and we need to expand these improvements to curbs and also to sidewalks. We want to keep all of our neighborhoods looking fresh, attractive, and very, very nice. So that's a little bit about myself, why I'm running for office, and my priorities going forward.
Mr. Irwin, thank you for those kind opening remarks. And you've just about used all of your 20 minutes. So it's a very small amount of time for some questions. But we do have a question that was asked of the mayoral candidates this morning and was just now asked on our Facebook page. And can you, and it's specific to South Bossier, can you provide any updates or plans that are happening around the development around the then CenturyLink Center, now Brookshire's grocery store arena, CenturyLink Center, and what are those plans for the future for any of those developments around that arena?
Well, of course, that area around CenturyLink is ideal for major big box development, and I would love to see it come. But I don't have any information of any specific development that is coming, in the immediate future. But I will tell you this: I think it's going to come. Development follows rooftops, and Bossier City has been adding lots and lots of rooftops. And currently, one of the largest housing developments in Bossier City is taking place along Sunflower Road. So we need to have rooftops to support the businesses, and the rooftops are coming, and businesses like to make money. So believe me, they'll come when there's enough people there for them to swing open the doors and make a profit. Just look at the businesses in South Bossier. Many of them are very, very long-term. They have been successful when you look at Cafe USA, El Mariachi, Gumbo to Go. These restaurants have been there a long time. As we get more rooftops, I'm sure we'll get more development. There's not a whole lot of room left along Barksdale Boulevard. Can I say a closing comment?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I just want to say that it's my highest honor to serve the citizens of Bossier City, and specifically South Bossier. I humbly ask for your vote on March the 20th. Let's keep the South Bossier transformation moving forward and keep Bossier City a great place to live, work, and to raise a family. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Irwin. And could you share with everyone, as the other candidates have, what is the best way, if there are additional questions for you, since our time is limited, that they can contact you for questions and answer?
Call me on my cell phone. It's 469-0854. I'd be
Great.
glad to visit with anyone anytime. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for taking the time to be with us today. And Scott Irwin, candidate for District 1. And now we're going to move into the second candidate for District 1, representing the South Bossier area. I believe Shane Cheatham is with us here. Shane, if you can turn your camera on, please. And there he is. So Shane, we'd like to welcome you to this afternoon's virtual meet and greet of our candidates. As I have already shared with everyone, we did our mayor this morning, mayoral candidates, then councilman at large. We're now in District 1, which is represent South Bossier. And we're just asking the candidates to introduce yourself. Why are you running? And what are your goals for the next year if you were to be elected? And we've got about 15 minutes for that. 20 minutes is your allotment, but trying to save 5 minutes for question and answer if you so choose. So Shane, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Lisa. I appreciate you having this and putting this on for all the candidates, and also appreciate all the candidates that took the time out of their day to do this. I think it's great for our residents to not only see what we're out and about doing in the community, but also hear some things that we want to do in the future. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Shane Cheatham. I've lived in South Bossier all my life. I've raised my daughter graduated from Parkway High School last year. She's now at Louisiana Tech. My son is currently at Elm Grove Middle School. South Bossier, my license plate says Sobo. Okay, so I'm a South Bossier born and raised, and I bleed South Bossier. And you know, I get a little passionate when I start talking about it. And those who've heard me talk about South Bossier before, I don't want to make this about me, my 15 minutes or my introductions. I want y'all to be able to ask questions. But I will say this: South Bossier has been treated like the redheaded stepchild for many years. South Bossier has not gotten the economic development and the tax dollars spent in South Bossier like it has in North Bossier. I want, after 18 years of our current city councilman having the opportunity to get tax dollars down here, I believe it's time for some fresh ideas and some new faces. I believe that South Bossier and the residents of South Bossier deserve someone that's going to fight for them. I believe that we as a city have done very well. I believe there's two reasons that people want to move to Bossier City and Bossier Parish. It's because of our schools, our great schools, and because we've always been a great and safe place to raise a family. Over the past few years, I believe we could probably trace it back to 2008 till now. Our crime rates have gone up. We have less officers on the streets. And I have concern that the two reasons people have been wanting to move to Bossier City for decades, our schools and our safety. I have concerns that we are no longer pushing to have those officers and have that safe community, that safe environment that we've always done. We have a great fire department. We have great officers on the streets, but I believe we have taken money away from our police department, and I believe the crime rates and the FBI stats show that. I also believe that when my daughter tells me, Dad, when I graduate, I don't want to move back to Bossier City. There's nothing to do there to raise a family. There's nothing for me to do to take my kids to. I remember growing up, we had Hamels Park. It was across the bridge in Shreveport. Bossier City is going to have to find something to bring these young families and keep them here. We have a lot of retirees that have been at Barksdale Air Force Base. We've had a lot of families that have been here a really long time. But if we want to continue to grow past the 70,000 plus residents that we have now, we've got to do some things to bring these college educated kids back to our city. I have a great concern. I'm excited about the new entrance to Barksdale Air Force Base. I think it's an awesome thing for the base. I think it's great, but it's also going to make it a lot easier for people to move to Houghton. And then I have concern that if we don't do something in South Bossier to spend money down here to create economic development, public-private partnerships and addressing our infrastructure down here, Bossier City is going to struggle when that new entrance opens to the base. And we're going to lose residents to Halton. Halton's growing fast as well. So I have concerns. The reason I'm running for District 1 City Council, it's not about Shane Cheatham. It's not about how smart I am, how many degrees I have. It's not about me. It's about the people of South Bossier. And our current city councilman talked about how he loves the people of South Bossier. You know, I'm just gonna, tell you, I don't see our current city councilman loving on the people of South Bossier. To me, it's like Marshawn Lynch says, I'm about that action, boss. I believe you got to be about the action. You got to be out there with the people of South Bossier. I believe that South Bossier wants somebody that will come and fight for them and work with them and do like I did this morning when we couldn't get any water set up down here for people of South Bossier. I called State Representative Thomas Presley and said, hey man, can you get us some water? We put 2 pallets of water out in an hour and a half to 2 hours. It was completely gone. I believe that we should have had stations set up in South Bossier, Central Bossier, North Bossier for people to get water. I hear Meadowview's been without water. So, I want to be there for the people of South Bossier and the people of Bossier City. I do love South Bossier. I am running for District 1 City Council, but I do want all of Bossier City to be prouder, stronger, and better. And I believe working together with other city councilmen, with the mayor, with the people that we have some great employees in this city. I would just like to see us get some fresh faces, some new ideas to continue our growth and continue to be a better Bossier City.
Thank you, Shane. Thank you so much for those opening remarks. We do have some questions that have been submitted. And as a reminder to those that are watching on the Zoom platform or on Facebook Live, I have 2 screens, so I'm going back and forth. Please submit those questions in the chat box on the Zoom platform or on the Facebook Live in the comments, and we will get those questions addressed for you as time allows. One of the questions that we have for you, Shane, is that if someone came to you, and this goes with economic development and proposals for South Bossier, if someone came to you with a proposal to build a new piece of public infrastructure in our city or South Bossier, how would you evaluate whether that project was worth implementing?
I believe that the city council would need to get together and have conversations about that, and obviously work with the chamber and other business leaders and other members of our community to see if that project is something that could generate more revenue for our city.
Great, thank you. There's been a question we have talked throughout today with the candidates about public safety and law enforcement. And there is a question here in the chat box of how will you work with the city on better ways to introduce our youth to law enforcement?
That's a great question, and I think it's very important and it's a vital thing. And back when I was in school, we had Officer Friendly, and we had Ronald McDonald for Stop, Drop, and Roll and different things. I think we do a great job with our SRO program currently. We have an SRO in every one of our schools in the parish and in the city. And I think we need to do more with our local police department as well, as getting in front of these younger children and developing that relationship and driving through the neighborhoods and do some, I think we do a lot of reactive policing, not necessarily just here in Bossier City, but everywhere. If we get out there and we get in the community and we build relationships, I believe it will do nothing but have positive actions as these children grow older, and they can have a great relationship and understand that the police department is there to protect and serve everyone.
As being a district, a candidate for a specific district, how would you work with the other councilmen to represent your district, but make sure that the vision for Bossier City as a whole is met?
Yeah, and I think there is definitely a vision for the entire city, and then obviously representing one district, you're Your job is to meet with the people in your district and talk with them and see what the people of South Bossier want. And then you take that to the other members. And you know, again, I think Bossier City has done a good job of growing, but most of that growth has been in North Bossier. And now a lot of the North Bossier growth has moved into Benton. And now we've got to find a way to keep the people living in Bossier City. Once this new entrance opens, you know, I don't want to see Bossier go from 70,000 people back down to the 60,000. We want to keep growing. We want to grow smartly. We want to make sure we have the infrastructure and everything to support that growth. But we also, so, you know, kind of getting back to answering the actual question, you've got to be able to work with the other members of the city council. You've got to be able to work with the mayor and the other people. And I believe there's no doubt, in my 5 years on the Bossier Parish School Board, I've been able to work with people from Benton, Houghton, Plain Dealing, and we've all been able to make some great things happen. And as far as building new schools and adding and updating, and one of the things that I'm proud of that I got done in South Bossier, when I got on the school board 5 years ago, there was zero money that was allotted for South Bossier schools. There's none. The money was going to build the new Benton High School. It was going to redo Houghton and Airline. And Sun City Elementary School had T buildings, temporary buildings that were there from 35 years ago that I actually attended class in. And I worked with my other board members and I said, look, guys, we've got to do something. The music room at Sun City was falling. There were holes in the floors. I was like, we've got to do something to make this happen. And working with the other 11 members of the board, we were able to make that happen. And I'm proud that Sun City has a new 12 classroom wing, a beautiful wing that opened. And I believe that's how you have to work together. And I believe all 7 city councilmen could work together to continue to grow North Bossier and grow South Bossier as well, and make sure that we're providing the infrastructure, the economic development, and the safety that our city needs.
Thank you very much. We have another question in here, and you've talked about your role on the Bossier Parish School Board. Can you expand? What other leadership roles have you been a part of in Bossier organizations?
Yes, I'm currently on the Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee. I'm the secretary on that board, or on that committee. And outside of that, currently was former president of the Bossier Parish School Board, but now I'm just a member of the Bossier Parish School Board and the Bossier Republican Executive Committee.
Great, thank you. And we've had, I've been asking the $1 million question. If you've been on, you probably have heard it, but I'm going to ask it specifically for your area since we're talking about District 1. If you were to receive a $1 million grant to use for your district, in what way would you use that? And what would you do with it and why? You could use it any way you wanted, $1 million for District 1. How would you spend that money and why?
You know, $1 million today doesn't take you near as far as it would decades ago. But I will tell you that I believe that the first $1 million grant that I could get, I would use to fix our roads in South Bossier and make it where you don't feel like your alignment is going to go out in your car when you hit a speed bump going into a neighborhood or driving down Barksdale Boulevard. And I know that's, you know, a state highway, but if I could use that $1 million any way I could, it would be to take care of our roads down here in South Bossier.
And the question has been asked of the mayor candidates and then your opponent as well regarding development around the previous CenturyLink Center, former CenturyLink Center, now Brookshire Grocery Arena Center. What are your thoughts and your goals for development around that area?
I probably don't have 20 minutes to talk about that, do I? I could probably talk about that for 2 hours. I believe it is a must that we have growth around there. Every time I go to a state championship wrestling event or a concert, and I see people driving across the river into Shreveport to spend tax dollars at the hotels and the restaurants there, it gets my blood boiling. I believe that if many years ago we would have put a hotel, or we would have talked to people about building a strip center or something like they've done on the East Bank District around there, with a place to have coffee and have food, a place to have a sports bar to watch a game, or after you go to the concert or before. I believe if we would have developed that, there would have been a lot of tax dollars that are going across the river to Shreveport that we would keep here. And using that revenue that we would generate, we could do many things like fix our roads. That sales tax revenue would also go towards helping pay our teachers. So I really wish that decades ago we would have figured out a way to do that. I know, we hear a lot of talk about the $300 million project that was supposed to happen. Then there was a curb cut in that caused an issue. And now here we are $50 million later. And our current city councilman talked about a Walker Park. That wasn't something the city wanted to do. That was something they had to do because of a lawsuit. We talk about an artistic bridge that's on several flyers that are floating around. That wasn't because our city councilman wanted that or fought for that artistic bridge. It was because of a lawsuit. I believe that moving forward, we need to take gag orders off. We need to sit back down at the table and talk to the person that wanted to spend $300 million in South Bossier and figure out how we can get that project developed. And if we can't, the city owns 30 acres or so across from the CenturyLink. Maybe the city could sell that and work on developing that area. But how cool would it be to go to a concert, eat dinner, go after the concert, walk over, coffee shop, donut place, whatever it could be, and actually have something for people to do there. I believe that has to happen. And the number of rooftops that are growing in South Bossier, we're going to have, we already have the demand, in my opinion. I went several nights ago to Caro San Miguel to eat, and there was like an hour and a half long wait. Gumbo to Go is another great restaurant. Like Scott Irwin said, we have several good restaurants that have been down here a while, but we have the ability to support more restaurants. And I believe we need to come up with a plan to develop that area, or sit down with the people that wanted to spend 300 million, but we wouldn't give them a curb cut. And now around $50 million later in taxpayer money that's been wasted on attorney fees and other projects that the city didn't want to do, but they had to do.
So in relation to the question of you represent a specific district, and how will working in that district reflect on the full vision of Bossier, can you maybe expand in just a minute or two as to why is it important to this development that you're talking about, that you are saying and others are saying or is so needed in South Bossier? How is that going to complement all of Bossier City in economic development? Can you give some enlightenment to that?
Most definitely. I mean, if we develop that area and we have tax revenue coming in from people shopping at those shops or eating there, that's revenue that's coming in that's going to go towards fixing roads in North Bossier. Revenue that's going to come in that's going to go to our school system, to where we can do more with our schools. I mean, the sales revenue that could be generated by developing that area doesn't just help South Bossier. I mean, it probably hurts Shreveport, but Shreveport's loss is our gain. And I believe that the money generated and the money that we've lost over decades of not having anything and just telling the people of South Bossier, drive across the bridge, go over there to Shreveport and spend your money. I think if we looked back 30, 40 years, or 2000 when the CenturyLink Center opened, so 20 years ago, if we would have thought to develop that area, there's a lot more things that'd be happening in Bossier City.
Well, Shane, I really appreciate your time today. We have come upon the just about the 20-minute limit for you. We're a little off schedule due to some earlier technical difficulties with other candidates, but I do want to give you the last word, as I have done with every candidate, and for some closing remarks. And if you would, please also let the folks know listening on the Zoom and on the Facebook Live platform how they can contact you if they do have additional questions as you're making your closing remarks. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lisa. In closing remarks, again, I don't want this to be about me. To be quite honest with you, if I thought that for the last 18 years somebody had been fighting for South Bossier, I wouldn't even be running for this position. To me, it's about the people of South Bossier. I listen to the people of South Bossier. I started the South Bossier Lunch Group. We've been meeting for well over 3 years. I started the Friends of South Bossier Facebook group. I hear what the people want, and I believe that the people want someone to sit down and fight for South Bossier, to get tax dollars spent down here, whether it's fixing our roads, fixing our sidewalks, revitalizing our area, because our property values in South Bossier, they're not going up. And when you put a dollar store every 500 feet, that doesn't take your property values up. When the safety of your community, when there's a drive-by shooting in Golden Meadows, and then there's a drive-by shooting in Shady Grove, and people walk out and their car's gone from Golden Meadows, the concern is there, for one, for our safety, and for two, what are we going to do? What am I going to do to bring my daughter back from Louisiana Tech to Bossier City? And I believe we can do it. I believe that we, as a city council and as a mayor and as a city, and listening to the people of South Bossier, North Bossier, Central Bossier, the entire city, we can do some things that will make this place family friendly. Young families, they want to stay here, but we've got to have stuff for them to do. We've got to have things that will make them want to have their families here. I can be reached. I give everybody my cell phone number. I'm not hiding behind a voicemail number. I can be reached at 318-200-0801. Again, that's my cell phone number, 318-200-0801. I can also be reached on my Facebook page, Shane Cheatham for Bossier City. I would love to talk to anybody on the phone, or if you want to send me a message. I believe that South Bossier is ready for someone that's going to listen to them and work for them and help them. And then I, in turn, want to listen and work with the other city councilman and the mayor of Bossier City, and work to make Bossier City prouder, stronger, and better.
Thank you, Shane. We appreciate you taking 20 minutes out of your busy day, campaigning and what have you, to give us some insight and to meet you personally through this online virtual world. So thank you, and have a great day, and you be safe out there.
Thank you, Lisa. You too. Have a great day.
Thanks. Okay, folks, we are coming down to the end of our long afternoon of meeting all of our candidates. We started this morning with the mayor candidates, and this afternoon we have our councilman candidates. And so we've heard from our councilman at large candidates, and then District 1 for South Bossier. We just concluded with those two candidates. And now we're going to move to District 5. And the incumbent chose not to run again. So we have two new candidates that are running for District 5, which represents a North Bossier area. And the candidates are Marcia McAllister and Vince Maggio. And our schedule indicates that Marcia McAllister would have spoken first, and we would go to Vince. We have received a message from Miss McAllister that she is not able to join us this afternoon. She specifically stated that she is overwhelmed with phone calls taking care of plumbing issues due to the winter weather event. So we're going to move right along with Mr. Vince Maggio. And Vince, I see your name. Can you unmute? And if you have a camera, can you turn your camera on? Okay, I see you
camera
unmuted.
on.
You are on. I can hear you.
Okay, Lisa.
Yeah.
Oh, can you hear me, Lisa?
I can.
Okay.
Hi,
Can you see me?
no, sir.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
There you are.
Good afternoon. How you doing, Lisa?
I'm good. Thank you for
Okay.
joining us.
Hey, Lisa. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. So for everyone on the call, we'd like to welcome Vince Maggio, who is a candidate for District 5, which represents the North Bossier area. And so we would like an introduction. Introduce us to yourself. Why are you running? And what are your goals for the next 4 years for District 5?
Well, I've been in Bossier City all my life. born and raised in Bossier, live in my district and work in my district. And my goals are to make Bossier City safer. I support the firefighters, I support the police and the school board. Bossier City is a great place to live. I've been here all my life, and all my friends from Shreveport all over moving to Bossier because it's safe. And the people are wonderful. I mean, it's been good to my family for 98 years in business. My grandfather, Sam Madjo, and my daddy and Uncle Joe. And I took over in 85 in the store full time, been there all my life. And to give back to the community, help Bossier City, it's in my heart, and I love people.
Well,
And you know, like some of the goals, like down there, the East Bank District. You know, we spent all that money down there. We need somebody to open it up, guiding it, bring entertainment down there. We got more businesses coming. Got a Mexican restaurant fixing to open down there. We need somebody to push it and keep it going and get the tax dollars back. If we take the tax dollar, the revenue, what makes it down there, invest in somebody to help us for Bossier City. And, you know, North Bossier, I live in Green Acres Place, and he was a killing up here, Air Force man. We hated 2 blocks from my house, and we need more officers on the street. Bossier City, you know, it ain't like that. And, you know, I'm all for safety. That and schools and streets and drainage. We got a street problem. Coming down Benton Road, 1 lane. I mean, traffic backed up to I-220. We got to work together as a council and the mayor and solve these problems, work as a family and help, you know, and the people appreciate it. And
yes, sir. Well, we appreciate you being with us today. And
yes, ma'am.
my apologies to those that are watching. The bandwidth is kind of going in and out, but we are catching most everything that you are saying, and we are understanding. So we are hearing what you're saying. So you've talked about the East Bank District and North Bossier and what have you. And a question, Mr. Maggio, that we've been asking of most all of the candidates, if we had the time to, is
Okay.
some people in our community say that we have traffic problems. What do you think?
Yes, yes.
And how would you mitigate those concerns or change the situation?
That's a good question. Well, one, they made that from Traffic Street to Benton Road, that overpass. We need that bad now. And we need east, going east. We can't go west. We got Red River, Benton Road. We need to hit that traffic east and hit down Crouch Road, tying to Swan Lake. And we need more lanes going out that way, get the traffic north. We got south going, but I mean, we you know, we need to stick together and all put our heads together, and like one man don't know it. You get all over the council people together, and man, let's sit down and talk and invite the public in, because one man don't have ideas. You know, we need help. We're bad on traffic. That's one of my concerns there, safety and traffic and the drainage.
Thank you. Just as you're talking about safety, and someone has asked some of the other candidates, how do you, or what can you do to help encourage our youth to get involved in law enforcement? Any thoughts or ideas on that?
Okay, yeah. Yes, ma'am. I've been working with the youth around my store, teaching the young people from kindergarten up, safety, help each other. Don't steal, work for what you want. I open a community center, to like a garden center on one of my places back there, and the kids love it. It's showing the kids respect. They don't steal from me as much. They help me. If somebody does steal, they come in, but it starts when they're young and come up, and then it'll show the police officer respect for the officers. We got to take care of the officers and the first responders, but starting young, we can do that. And then if you, I don't want to talk about no other town because I love Bossier City, but Bossier is a different place to live. We're all nice people, kind people, we're Christian people. And if we pull together, we can make this thing work. I know we can in my heart. That's why I'm doing it.
Yes, sir. And that's a great segue into the next question. How do you plan to involve residents within your district in the decision-making process of your district and Bossier City as a whole?
Okay. what I'm gonna do is, like in each neighborhood, we can meet at somebody's house somewhere, have a neighborhood, like a meeting. Each neighborhood's different, got different problems. And like this snow disaster, I deliver groceries, I help people out. We need on each street, we need somebody take lead to make sure everybody's okay in that each community. You know, if we have one disaster, what happened? This snow lasted 4 more days. What would people do? And we got to pull us each neighborhood together and take a lead on it and have a volunteer step up like a disaster plan. We can work together to do all this, but the community's got to pull together, and each community can do it. I see it in my neighborhood where my store is.
Yes, sir. So we have a question on here that has been asked of other candidates, but it's being asked of you as well. What reassurance can you give the people in your district, specifically the K-side community, which encompasses the neighborhood with Bossier Elementary, Margaritaville, who are afraid that that neighborhood will be reduced or eliminated due to the Walter O. Bigby Expressway?
Well, the Bixby Expressway went around us, but what I want to do, we need street lights, we need streets, we need sidewalks bad. The last politician who helped us back there was Mr. Pete Goriosa. He's the one who got our streets back there for us. We need them bad back there, and give the kids to walk on the streets. And we know we can build that neighborhood back up. I own a lot of rent property back there, and I take something old to make it look good. You take pride in your neighborhood, it's coming back up slowly, but we need to keep the crime down. You know, I mean, these youngsters from Shreveport come all over there, and I'm chasing them off or putting them in jail. We don't act. You know, I talk to them first, real nice. Look, guys, don't fight. Don't bring no guns over. Go to church. We got more churches a day, less people believing in Jesus. But these young kids don't have what we have when we was growing up. So I'm trying to teach them that. And they call it the K-side. It's the Cumberland subdivision, what's the real name of it is. And we can put, we're working together to make it better. Me and Mark Rody and all the churches around there. So it's doing better than it ever did. And Sunflower Baptist Church and Mark and us and Stonewall, we're all working together. And we help the kids, teach them how we was brought up. It's a loving community, I tell you. And I help them out. I buy them bags, bicycles, I feed them. But you show them love, they'll take care of you. We never been broke into, but thank the Lord. We never been robbed. They watch my back and I watch their back. It's a big family back there, what it is, really is. I mean, we can do that all over Bossier City and working in communities. It'd be you talking about Bossier being the best town in the United States. I'm all for it. It's been good to my family and me. So it's time for me to give back and do the best I can.
Yes, sir. So if there were a capital improvement or economic development project that you would like to see in your district of District 5, what would that be?
Capital improvement. Yeah, building we spent all that money on East Bank. We need to keep it, we need to build it up. I think the hospital, they broke ground back there. We got restaurants. We need to help the small businesses grow and keep the business we got going here, keep them going too. We need to invest in that, invest in our structure like drainage, streets and stuff. But to keep money coming, tax dollars, we need to keep businesses going and open in Bossier City. Don't send nothing in Shreveport. Keep every penny you can in Bossier City. Like downtown development. We can spend all that money. We need to keep it going. I believe like I said before, if we can take the tax dollar we spend, they pay in the revenue down there and hire somebody to help promote it down there. You talking about Bossier, that's all I hear down there. People love to go down there and they want more down there now. And I would spend, keep it going and, and look at other projects in North Bossier and Green Acres Place, Green Acres, it's so many, and Brownlee Road and all that. It's just, I'm gonna do all I can in my heart to help my District 5.
Great, thank you.
Yes,
So you've talked about the family business
ma'am.
and that y'all are have been in the community for some time now. Can you share for you specifically what leadership roles that you have been a part of in Bossier organizations?
Yes, ma'am. I've been, well, with all the churches, you know, I maintain, but like Bossier Elementary and the kids, when they need something, I get it going. I've been on the sheriff department over 30 years, the Bossier U.S. Marshal, help the fire department with their fundraisers, the police department, you know, then like, you know, you might have heard about my daughter, Melissa, passing away in a car accident 9 years ago. And she was 24, she was a nurse. And, you know, that anybody losing a child, it hurts. I ain't gonna tell you, it ain't no sugarcoating that. It still hurts. But I was sitting in the cemetery one day and Melissa loved helping people and putting a smile on your face. I said, Lord, I said, what can we do? It come to me, we opened a scholarship program, Melissa Rose Maggio Foundation, to help nurses. So far, we raised $89,000 in scholarships to all Bossier Parish schools. Each student gets $1,000 from us. They're gonna be a nurse or in the medicine field. So far, thank the Lord, all the students are still in nursing school or graduated for nursing. And, you know, helping people and, you know, in that Cumberland subdivision, what I do for the community, people, you can ask the people what I do for that community. You know, they've been that. It's been good to my family and us, and we've been good to them. And the farm we made for the kids, they raising vegetables now, and you know they ain't used to working like that. They seen how I was brought up when I was a child, pulling grass, planting tomato plants, cabbage. Now they bringing the veggies home and they eating them. It's good for the bodies. It's good for the family. It saves them money, and they're working at it too. They're learning how to do something, and they are loving it. And it's what you give back to the communities. And my store been there 98 years. The people have been good to us, and we've been good to them. It's like a big family. You know, some days you have up and downs, but everybody have good days and bad days. You got to love everybody, listen to everybody. When they got a complaint, listen to them, try to help them out. You know, sometimes you ain't gonna agree with them, but at the end of the day, you still love them. And, you know, the next day with best friends, you're gonna help them out. So it's been good to us.
Yes, sir. So can you tell us, we've asked this question as well of other candidates that are representing a specific district. And I understand that our candidates for specific districts have priorities for their district, but how will you work with the other councilmen to make sure that the vision for Bossier City as a whole is met while meeting the needs of your specific district?
Well, I'm a guy that you can work with. You know, I can get a problem solved. I'll be glad to work with all of them to help all Bossier City, because we're all in one. And if we don't pull together and help each other and work together and make sure we make the right plan for each district, we can't fight and fuss. We got to pull together as a family. And we're here for the people. And I'd be glad to help them and all. And I'll do anything I can.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we're coming upon the time of
Yes, ma'am.
For your 20 minutes, and greatly appreciate your insight and while you're
Yes,
running. So I'm going to give the floor to you and to give us some closing remarks. And as I've asked of everyone, if people have additional questions of you, if you could please share how they can contact you and ask those questions, please do that in your closing remarks. Okay. And the floor is yours now.
Okay. Well, I'd like to tell them, the people in my district and all Bossier City, I ain't no politician. I'm just a businessman, and I love people. I do it from my heart, and I want to do all I can to make Bossier City a better place to live and safe, and schools. I mean, we got it. We can do it. And if they have any question, they can call me. Here's my number, 318. Let me put my glass. I hate to tell you that. It's 318-588-1471. I
Great.
ain't got used to my reading glasses yet. I guess I'm getting close to 60 now, and they tell me you eat carrots, your eyes be good.
They do tell you that.
I eat carrots, I still got close up.
Well, I could put mine on to make you feel better, but I'm not going to.
It's just, but I feel good about running, and it's inside my heart. I'm excited, and I know God opened a door for me, and I love the people of Bossier. I'll always love Bossier City. When I come back from vacation, first thing I do, I hit my home when I cross over that bridge in Bossier. I said, "Thank you, Lord, I'm home and back in Bossier."
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you being with us, and we be safe out there, and look forward to seeing you on the campaign trail.
That's what I'm running.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I'm gonna go walk today. Thank you for
Okay.
having me, and y'all have a nice day.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
For those of
Yes, ma'am.
us,
Bye-bye.
for those that have joined us for this day of virtual candidate interviews and meet and greet via the Zoom platform and Facebook Live, we greatly appreciate it. We had the mayor candidates this morning and city council candidates this afternoon. A couple of the candidates were not able to be with us as they were out working in the community and taking care of issues due to the winter storm. And so be sure to look those folks up individually. Those that were able to spend and give us 20 minutes of their time today, we greatly appreciate it. If you have any additional questions, please do not hesitate to put those in the comment section on our Facebook Live videos. And I'm sure the candidates will be watching those and they will be answering those questions. We have already heard from one of the candidates that spoke earlier today that would like to give some additional insight, and they plan on joining us or getting on our Facebook at what time was it, Jessica, as our producer in the background?
Oh, I believe he's getting on his Facebook.
On his Facebook page. Okay. So I believe that
Check their pages. They'll have additional info as they go throughout this process.
Great. So thank you all for joining us today, and we appreciate your time. Whatever you do, it's important that your voice be heard. Be sure to go out and vote. Early voting to start soon, and the general election day is on March 20th. So y'all be safe out there. Take care.